on every year. And to your point, like I think Josh and Joe had a really good relationship from the quarterback room that carried on. It wasn't like they had to get to know each other. And it's so important for that play caller to have the feel of what fits this quarterback, what fits this offense. So it didn't take them long to get on the same page, and I thought they really did a nice job. And it'll be fun to watch, I know Josh and Joe had conversations after the season about where we want to take the offense, things that we want to keep and things that we want to tweak. And so those are being worked on now. I know, Joe will check in with Josh, here and there, but always looking forward to seeing how our offense will evolve, and I know Joe's excited about it as well.
Brandon, in terms of receivers, when you look for receivers in this draft, you need to add size.
I mean, that's one of the things, again, whether you talk about adding Dalton Kincaid last year, did you need a receiver more than a tight end or whatever it is, it's really just trying to find different weapons. And you would love for them all to be 6'4", run a 4.42, have elite hands, football instinct. So you're kind of weighing it all. There are some size guys that are 6'3" that play like they're 6 foot. And then, we had a guy in Carolina that was 5'9", and Steve Smith, he played like he was 6'4". He could jump, he was strong, great at the contact point. So if you added a guy like that, he can play big for you. We didn't take Steve Smith out in the red zone in Carolina, if that makes sense. So we're just looking for weapons. We need to know what they do well, how we can accentuate their skill set, and then just make sure we have a variety of things, not just have all quick guys, all big guys, or all fast guys. Just trying to have as many options as we can for Joe to set the offense up.
Brandon, did you watch?
With Josh, well, I'd say we started with, his size, just the physical traits, his arm strengths, knowing we were playing in Buffalo. And then I would say secondly, just what's the DNA? I mean, the DNA of that's the face of your franchise. What is the intelligence? Because you're a coach on the field, he's got to know what everybody's doing. He's also got to know what the defense is trying to do. So how quick can he process? How much does he know? Does he understand what teams are trying to do? And then that leader, is that guy. Everybody can lead when it's going well, but what are his leadership traits when it's going bad? How is he going to overcome adversity? What is he like in the clutch? Like, go back and watch his film. What did he do? What did his teams do? Did they have success when they were behind or when they need to finish out a game? You're up 3 or 4, you don't want to punt the ball back. Can you go get 3 or 4 first downs and run the clock out? Yeah, we had, so we first met Josh at the Senior Bowl. We spent 35 minutes with him there, one-on-one, and then here a little bit, not as much, because we knew we were going to Laramie to work him out and spend a day with him. We had 2 meals with him, and then we brought him in for a 30 visit. So we put him in different scenarios in each time, and by the end, we were, very confident that this guy would fit us in Buffalo. We have tests that we look at, but those are tools. It's not an end-all, be-all. We trusted our research and just being around him and the tests we put him through to determine that this guy would fit what we're looking for.
Brandon, what do you see happening?
Yeah, I expect him to be here. I mean, we don't set up meetings or anything like that. We do our exit stuff at the end of the season, but no, nothing's changed from that standpoint. He's not. So Von Miller, yeah, he finished the season healthy. So he's doing well. I think he's in Texas right now, somewhere out there. But yeah, we're hoping that he'll look more like he did the first. When we got him, he had 8 sacks in 9 or 10 games. We're hoping that that's the Vaughn. I've spoken to Vaughn after the season and since it ended and I would say Vaughn the last few weeks, we set him down the one game, and I would say that Miami, Pittsburgh, and KC, you saw the flashes of it. I think now it's just more of it, and getting him in a rhythm. It's that fine balance of, like a shooter, how many shots does he need to get going? Vaughn's a rusher. He's a shooter from there, so what does he need to get his lather, but understanding at his age, you don't want him playing 40, 45 snaps either.
Brandon, what do you see happening with
The trade up for Bryce Young. Yeah, I mean, I didn't have all the facts, David, as far as what they did, or and it's always hard to judge a rookie quarterback. I don't know how they used them or everything about him. I didn't spend any time with Bryce, so I don't know if they accentuated his skill set during the season. So he was a good young player in college. My son goes to Alabama, so I saw those games, and he was very highly thought of there. And so I understood the pick at the time. I don't remember the full trade value of what they got to rate whether it was a good trade or not. It's one of those things, if he works out, if you can get a franchise quarterback, if he turns out to be a franchise quarterback, it'll be a good move. I mean, we got criticized a little bit for how much we gave up for Josh. And I'm like, well, if he doesn't work out, I'm not going to be here anyway. And if he does work out, nobody's going to give a shit.
What do you see? Go ahead. What do you see happening with the running back market this year, just given the available backs and what happened last year?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a crystal ball, but I would expect similar. I think it's a passing league. And so the running backs that you can line up out there and he can play receiver. I was just over here talking about matchups and things like that. So I think those backs that can run out of the backfield but can also be a mismatch in the passing game, they're going to have more value than your traditional old school line them up, 3 yards in a cloud of dust running back. If that makes sense.
Brandon, you mentioned would you like to retain Gabe or AJ?
Yeah, I mean, those are guys, first off, we love to draft, develop, and sign. I think those guys have all developed well and earned the opportunity to go to free agency. We're still working through, now that we know the cap, we're working through getting under, and then how much can we create without totally piling up a huge mess, in 25 or 26, whatever year it is. But yes, we're going to, we'll have conversations with those guys like we will all the free agents. And, there's not a free agent that I can think of that I'm going, man, I don't want that guy back. You know what I'm saying? So we'll have lots of conversations and we'll see where it goes. Nothing to report at this point, though.
Brandon, the news about the bump in the salary cap, do you see any value in having signed Josh to his deal, and how do you think that changes the effect on quarterbacks?
Yeah, I mean, the quarterback numbers have jumped more drastically than the cap has, which it really makes it hard because you're trying to balance. You have to have a franchise quarterback. I mean, it's proven. You look at most years, the final 4-8 teams, most of those guys, most of those teams each year, there can be a one-off here that they have a franchise guy. And so we feel fortunate to have Josh, but that's how you're building your whole team around that contract, and you're trying to massage it. And so that'll continue to be something we have to look at, and the numbers continue to rise drastically, and it's probably not going to slow down. So I'm sure at some point we'll have to to look at that, from Josh's standpoint.
Brandon, you mentioned the trade you made up for Josh Allen a couple of years ago. When your trade, I think you went from 21 to 12 weeks before, and then 12 to 7 the night of.
Yep.
When you're making that kind of trade, like the first one from 21 to 12, do you have to feel like there's a lot of quarterbacks we like and we'll just take whichever one is available to us? Can you make that kind of trade up with only one guy in mind?
You have to know, if you're going to do that, you have to know that you think you have a chance to get in with a striking distance. The reason that we made the move from 21 to 12 was because we were already calling to see if we could get into the top 10, and no one wanted to drop back as far as 21. And so I'm like, if we're going to, do all this research and see if we can find the guy we want, we got to get within striking distance. And so getting to 12 was key for us because at that point people were open to moving back, and ultimately Tampa was willing to go, from 7 to 12. I don't know if they would have gone 7 to 21.
And then 12 to 7, is that just because it's Josh specifically, or
yes,
if there were other guys?
I'm not going to get into everything, but that was definitely for Josh. I don't want to put bad on anyone else.
Talk about receiver depth, the importance of it. You said that receivers are kind of like race cars. It's fun to watch them rev up, but sometimes they crash. So for you guys, how do you evaluate receivers as they age?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's no different than any player. How do you evaluate a running back when he ages? How do you evaluate a corner that used to run 4.4, but he's picked up instincts that overcome some of his lack of speed? So you look at some guys look at a guy like Keenan Allen. He didn't run fast. He's been a Pro Bowl, all these years. He's just been a great target. And Anquan Bolden, all those years, was never a speedster. So I think, what is their skill set? What do they bring? If you're just wanting a guy to take the top off and just catch deep balls, a Teddy Ginn type that we had in Carolina that was drafted really high, when their speed drops, they lose their value pretty quick.
You're really young at safety, one of those spots this year. What are you looking for his plays this week about and then able to scheme?
Yeah, I mean, this week it is more about smarts and intelligence. What are they walking in with? And if they're not walking in with a lot, is that because they couldn't do it, or that's just not what the school asked them to do? And so if that's the case, you just know you're starting from back. If it's a really smart player that, hey, he's coming from a very simple defense at whatever university, but we put him through enough tests this week, plus in the spring, whether we bring him in or whether we go to, a pro day or something like that, we want to know how quickly they can learn, how quickly they can process, because back there, the game's moving fast, and they do have to be able to process what's going on, with all the various route concepts, trying to match, teams like Miami and think that throw the ball very well. Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Some guys that are 21, it's like you're talking to a 25-year-old. And then some guys that are 24, it's like talking to my 18-year-old son. So it's just, some guys come in very mature beyond their years, and some, when you get them in, you're going, we got some work to do. And that's where I think Mark Carrier and our player engagement staff do a great job of just understanding what they're walking in with and where we kind of need to get them to with life skills, and so to speak. So I don't have a preference of 21 versus 25. My preference is that they're pros, they're working hard, they get good habits in the building, but they also have good habits off the field. They're knowing what veterans to follow, and that's where we kind of lean. These are the guys you need, when we get these rookies in, these are the guys in your position group you should keep an eye on, and if there's a guy that we think is not, don't follow this guy.
Do you think Travius and or Matt Milano will be ready for any off-season activities?
I think it's still early. They're still working through it. I don't want to commit to that at this point. Both of them are in Buffalo, rehabbing, doing everything they can. Tre'Davious has attacked it just like he did his ACL stuff 2 years ago. I was talking to One Bills Live again a while ago about, such an unfortunate thing for him after all he did to come back from the ACL, and was fired up to be healthy coming in this year, and that happens to him. And Matt's was a freak deal, kind of a non-traditional type of football injury. So we haven't had a guy since I've been there with that type of injury, but he's seen the docs, he's rehabbing, and we'll ultimately see when he's ready, whether it's OTAs or whether we have to wait all the way to July.
Brandon, what value at this point do you put in the 40-yard dash? It feels like we're seeing faster and faster times as years go on. So as that drill has evolved, what value do you see in it?
It's play speed, Marcel, more for us. Like, what am I watching when I'm at a game live? Do you feel that guy, his speed jump off when you're on the field? And you can see it on tape, the guys that have it. I've seen guys that are 4.4, but they don't play 4.4. They play 4.5 because they're thinking too much, or they just don't have a good feel for the game. And then I've seen guys, play much faster than they run 4.5. They didn't train for it very well, but they play fast, they process, and they're really good players. So again, I'm looking more at what do they look like in their pads, playing the game, understanding all the concepts more than just what is that true 40-yard time. Rasul, he's a guy that obviously did some really good things for us. We're looking at a lot of things, so nothing right now or anything like that, but really enjoyed getting to know him and what he brought to our defense.
Brandon, we heard Sean McDermott say it's not a matter of if but when we win a Super Bowl. Is that reciprocated in you, and how do you feel about Sean McDermott going forward?
How do I feel about Sean? Yeah, I mean, listen, I love the confidence, and we're all confident. We work hard. You got to be confident in this business. If you're not, you shouldn't be in one of these jobs. And so, this is season 8 for us, and we're frustrated as ever to win, and we're going to do everything we can. You know, every year is its own year, and we know the challenge ahead. That when you've won the division, you know, four times in a row, that you're going to be. It's getting harder. It's not going to get easier, but experience helps, and we know some of the landmines that we have to navigate, and we're confident that at the right time we'll get it done.
Brandon, on Tre'Davious himself, fans look and see coming off the injury, he's got a big cap number, but as a person, does that matter too about how much you think a guy like him might be able to come back more fully than someone else, because you know the guy and how you have to weigh all of those different things that go into that?
Yeah, we put all that into the equation, the person, the character, and you're not going to find a higher character than Trey. You obviously put in the medical, like what does your medical team think? When will Trey, in this case, look like the Trey of old? What does that look like? Is that training camp? Is that mid-season? Is that 2 seasons from now? Whatever, you know, you do that with any player, but his DNA definitely helps, you know, give you confidence.